one of the things in this indictment is that Mark Meadows, the chief of staff of the president, sent a text message to Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry asking for the phone number for the Speaker of the Pennsylvania State House. Is that an indictable offense, sir? It
is not, and what we're viewing, or what we're watching, is akin to something from the Soviet Union. This is a show trial. This is, I mean, I could be a lot worse with my language. I'm trying to contain myself.
Cleaning it up a little bit?
The loathing that I have for Prosecutor Fani and what she's dreamed up here. It's a clown show. I mean, this is a stunt. It's a political stunt meant to interfere in an election. The problem is that they have the full weight and force of the law behind them. And so you've got these characters. I mean, these are like drunk teenagers with car keys. This is a wreck of what's going on. They're going to damage people. They're going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees. They're going to disrupt their lives. And that's the purpose, right? The process is the punishment. And that's what they're aiming for. They're trying to destroy and disrupt President Trump's campaign and all those persons around them, and also sending a signal to the American public: you better sit down and shut up and do as you're told. If you dare to associate yourself with President Trump, you're one of the enemies. You're a criminal. That's the message, and that's the message from President Biden, from Attorney General Garland, from this lunatic in Georgia, from the New York grand jury. That's the message. Sit down and shut up and do as you're told.
Former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows wanted to change a venue. Chris Farrell, why would you want to change a venue from liberal, Democrat-dominated Fulton County to liberal, Democratic-dominated D.C. right across the street here? I mean, what does that get you? I don't know.
Well, the question is whether it would come to D.C. It might go to a federal court. I mean, look, the venue is not locked in. It could be somewhere in the Fourth Circuit. It could be a Georgia federal court. The act itself occurred here in D.C., so that might be the place where they would bring it in the district court. The underlying question is, who's going to prosecute and try this case? As currently configured, you're going to have to get a stadium to do it in Georgia, because you have 18 defendants, and they supposedly want to go to trial in March, which is preposterous. It's not going to happen that fast.
Super Tuesday, the day before Super Tuesday.
It's simply not going to happen. Again, this is more the gamesmanship and the stunt aspect of this. But if you think you're going to have 18 defendants file into a courtroom somewhere with their attorneys and paralegals and everybody else and start conducting a trial, again, this is all show, it's all drama, and I hope Mr. Meadows and the President get the case removed out of her hands and let a federal court hear it, and I think it'll expedite things.
What happened with this internet posting of the trial docket, so supposedly not ready for prime time, supposedly not an authentic document? What's up with that?
Well, one thing's for certain, and that is the DA's office is lying. So whether it was
Is that evidence for a mistrial or a change of venue?
I believe that that argument could certainly be made. Now, whether anybody buys off on it or not is a separate question. But it was either an accident or an accident on purpose. But they tee this thing up, post it, then whoopsie, take it down, and just so happens to mirror exactly what ended up being.
That means that they were awfully ready for this.
Well, the good news is that they can do the same thing with the conviction, right?
Right.
They've already decided what's going to happen here. So just go ahead and the final order. And
post that right away and just kind of get it over with. Get it in the cans. Everybody kind of. Speaking of the former president had something interesting to say, had a statement about this situation. I think we have a soundbite. Maybe we can hear that.
It is a disgraceful thing that Joe Biden refuses to help or comment on the tragedy in Maui, just as he refused to help or comment on the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio.
Chris Farrell, is this Maui Wowie?
Biden's a disgrace. And I think you have to, we really need to pause and examine just how superficial and phony and sort of going through the motions both Biden personally as a man and the entire apparatus around him at the White House, what he's all about.
Is this Biden's Katrina?
He could give a damn about the people in Ohio who suffered through that train wreck and the spill and all the consequences to that local community. But he's going to take an opportunity to go hang out in Hawaii and do some fundraising with a quick flyover of the area that's been subject to these wildfires. This is such a transparently shallow, phony operation. And it really reflects on him personally. This is not just, the handlers not getting it right or some other, PR phony Washington line. This illustrates and illuminates who Biden is as a human being.
Well, Chris Farrell, you being the resident country music fan and critic, what do you make of this sort of grassroots popularity for this song, which nobody saw coming?
He speaks an unspoken truth, and it's well known across, what the bi-coastal elite consider to be flyover country, and it is those rich men north of Richmond. There's an entire industry, right? There's a military-industrial complex. There's the government complex. Washington doesn't make or do anything. It simply kind of barters and sells influence. And they rearrange.
So he's referring to Washingtonians here, north of Richmond. That's who those people are.
Undoubtedly, undoubtedly. It's the entire D.C. metroplex, whatever you want to call it. It's the lobbyists, it's members of Congress, it's the defense contractors, it's the alphabet superintelligence agencies. Somehow they always prosper. Somehow they always do well for themselves. And there's a whole bunch of people in the country who they know what's going on in this little zone that we're sitting in. And this guy's had the talent and the smarts to be able to express it in a way that many Americans identify with. And that's why it carries as much influence and weight as it has, and that's why it's skyrocketed.